Previously on Shattered Resistance, Elias and his team barely escaped the horrors of the hybrid experimentation base, but the threat is far from over. With the government in league with the alien invaders, the stakes have never been higher. Now, they must find allies in a world full of fear and distrust. Will they unite the survivors before the enemy's ultimate weapon is unleashed? Welcome back to Shattered Resistance. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any part of the journey. Let's dive into episode 2 and see how the fight for survival unfolds. Thanks for watching a 2 of Shattered Resistance. Episode 2, Through the Ashes. The sky was thick with smoke as the fires from the destroyed base behind them slowly died out. Elias led his team through the wreckage of what was once a battlefield. The flames still cast an eerie glow, illuminating the destruction they had left behind. But as the heat from the explosion faded, the chilling reality of what they had discovered in the base was beginning to set in. The survivor, still trembling, walked in silence a few steps behind the group, his eyes wide with terror. He had seen too much, experienced too much, and now everything he had feared was coming true. The government wasn't just working with the aliens, they were creating hybrids, monstrous beings built for destruction. Worse, he had seen the plans for something far more dangerous being constructed in another base. But even though he had survived this long, he knew that the worst was yet to come. Sarah wiped the sweat and ash from her brow, looking back at the burning wreckage with a mix of relief and dread. "We barely made it out of there, and now you're telling us there are more bases just like this?" Her voice was filled with frustration as she spoke to the survivor, still processing the horrors they had just witnessed. The man nodded slowly, his voice weak and shaky. "It's worse than you think. What we saw, it's only the beginning. The government is working with them. They've been doing this for years, and they won't stop until they control everything. The hybrids, they're just the start." Riley, ever the one to mask his fear with humor, forced a grin. "Great. More freaks to burn. Just what we needed." Naomi, who had been silent since they left the base, finally spoke, her voice steady and calm. "We can't take on all of this alone. We need to find more survivors, more fighters." Elias stood quietly, his eyes focused on the horizon. His mind was already turning over the possibilities, trying to find the best course of action. He knew Naomi was right. The small group they had was strong, but it wasn't enough. Not against an enemy like this. "We need to move. There's another base, bigger, more fortified. If we can hit it before they finish whatever they're building, we might have a chance to stop them, but we can't do it alone." The survivor looked up at Elias, panic in his eyes. "No. You don't understand. They're looking for something buried beneath that base. It's not just hybrids. Whatever they're digging for, it's ancient. And if they find it, everything we know will be gone." Elias locked eyes with the survivor. "Then we stop them before they find it." The group continued forward, their path taking them through the skeletal remains of what had once been a bustling city. Now only crumbled buildings, broken streets, and scattered debris remained. The world was a shadow of its former self, a haunting reminder of what had been lost. But in this wasteland, they would find what they needed to fight back. Sarah's voice broke the silence as they moved. "So what's the plan, Ghost? We can't just keep blowing up bases and hoping for the best." Elias didn't answer immediately. His mind was already working through the details. "We need to find others like us. There have to be more resistance groups out there, people who know what's happening. If we can unite them, we might have a chance." Riley smirked. "An army of misfits against an army of hybrids? Sounds like a fair fight." Naomi kept her eyes on the surroundings, her sniper rifle always at the ready. "If we find the right people, we can make this work. But we need to move fast. The more time we waste, the closer they get to finding whatever they're digging for." The survivor, still trailing behind, chimed in again, his voice barely a whisper. "It's not just the hybrids. They're building something. Something big." Elias turned to him, his expression unreadable. "What is it?" The man swallowed hard, his face pale. "A weapon. An alien weapon. It's buried deep underground, but they're close to finding it. If they get their hands on it, nothing will stop them. Not the resistance, not anyone." Elias looked at his team, the gravity of the situation sinking in. They had to act fast, or the world would face a threat even worse than the hybrids. "We'll find the resistance," Elias said, determination in his voice, "and then we'll take that base down. Whatever they're building, we'll destroy it before it's too late." The group moved forward into the wasteland, their path uncertain but their goal clear. As they walked, the survivors' words echoed in their minds. The hybrids were just the beginning. The true enemy was still out there, waiting in the shadows, and they had to be ready. But for now, the fight wasn't over. It had only just begun. The group continues their journey through the ruins, and the survivors' revelation about the weapon beneath the next base looms over them like a dark cloud. Tensions run high as the team debates their next steps. The group pushed on through the desolate wasteland, their footsteps echoing softly against the cracked pavement. The city, that had once been a thriving metropolis, now lay in ruin. Buildings, now nothing but hollowed-out shells, towered over them like skeletal remains of the past. The air was thick with dust and ash, a reminder of the chaos and destruction that had taken place years ago. Even now, it was hard for any of them to believe how quickly the world had fallen. The survivor, still shaken from his ordeal, tried to keep pace with the group, though his legs wobbled with every step. His mind was clearly far away, lost in the memories of what he had seen in the other bases. He had barely escaped with his life, and even now he wasn't sure if he would survive what was coming next. Elias glanced over at him, his brow furrowed with concern. The man was their only lead to the next base, but his mental state was fragile at best. Still, they had no choice. Time was running out, and they needed to act. Sarah, walking beside Elias, had been silent for some time, her mind working over the possibilities of what they had learned. The thought of an alien weapon buried deep beneath the earth unnerved her. "If what he says is true," she said quietly, "we could be facing more than just hybrids. This weapon, whatever it is, could wipe out what's left of us in one shot." Riley, ever the optimist in even the darkest times, smirked slightly, though his usual humor seemed more forced now. "Great. We've got the alien freaks, the government's selling us out, and now some kind of doomsday device. This keeps getting better and better." Naomi, her sniper rifle always ready at her side, kept her eyes forward, her voice steady and calm. "We need to hit them before they finish it. We're running out of time." Elias nodded. "That's why we need to find others. We can't take this base down alone. There has to be someone out there, other survivors, other resistance fighters. If we unite them, we might have a chance." The survivor, his voice weak, interrupted them. There are others. I've seen them. But they're hiding. They don't trust anyone anymore, not after what the government did." Elias turned to him, his expression softening slightly. "Where are they?" The survivor looked around nervously, as if afraid someone might overhear. "There's a camp, out west. A group of fighters, scavengers mostly. They're not organized, but they're strong. If you can convince them to join you, they could be a real asset." Sarah glanced at Elias. "Sounds like a long shot." Elias shrugged. "It's the only shot we've got." The group moved forward, heading in the direction the survivor had indicated. The journey was long and difficult, the road littered with the remnants of battles long forgotten. Burned-out vehicles and crumbling military checkpoints were scattered across the landscape, a grim reminder of humanity's desperate attempts to fend off the invasion. As they walked, the silence between the group grew heavier. Each of them knew what was at stake, but the weight of the situation was beginning to wear on them. Every day was a fight for survival, and every step brought them closer to their next battle. After hours of walking, they finally spotted something in the distance. A small camp, hidden within the ruins of an old industrial complex. The buildings surrounding it were half collapsed, but it was clear that someone had made this place a stronghold. Makeshift barricades lined the perimeter, and they could see movement inside the camp. Naomi was the first to raise her weapon, her eyes narrowing as she peered through the scope of her rifle. "Looks like we've got company. Lots of it." Elias motioned for the group to stay low as they approached. They didn't know whether these survivors would be friend or foe, and they couldn't afford to take any chances. As they drew closer, they could see the people inside the camp, hardened survivors, some armed with scavenged weapons, others tending to what little supplies they had. They moved with purpose, but there was an underlying tension in their movements, as if they were always on edge, ready to defend themselves at a moment's notice. Riley glanced over at Elias. "Think they'll welcome us with open arms?" Elias didn't respond immediately. His eyes were fixed on the camp, his mind working through how to approach them. Finally, he spoke. "We don't have much of a choice. We need them." The group cautiously approached the entrance to the camp, their weapons lowered but ready. As they drew nearer, one of the camp's guards spotted them and raised a rifle, signaling for the others to prepare. Elias raised his hands in a gesture of peace. "We're not here to fight. We're survivors, just like you. We need your help." The guard, a woman with a scar running down the side of her face, narrowed her eyes at them. "We don't trust outsiders." Elias stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "We're fighting the same enemy, the government, the aliens. We've seen what they're doing, turning people into hybrids. They're building something at the next base, something that could end everything." The woman hesitated for a moment, her eyes scanning Elias and his team, sizing them up. Finally, she lowered her weapon slightly. "Come inside. Talk to our leader. But if you try anything, we'll kill you where you stand." Elias nodded, motioning for the group to follow. As they entered the camp, the tension between them and the survivors was palpable. The people here had been through hell, just like them, but the fear and distrust ran deep. It would take more than words to unite them. The group was led to a large building at the center of the camp. Inside, they found the leader, an older man, grizzled and battle-worn, sitting at a table surrounded by maps and weapons. He looked up as they entered, his eyes hard and weary. "You're the ones causing all the noise out there, huh?" the man said, his voice gravelly. "Blowing up bases, stirring up trouble?" Elias nodded. "We're doing what we can to stop them, but we can't do it alone. We need your help." The leader leaned back in his chair, studying them for a moment before he spoke. "Why should we trust you? How do we know you're not just another group of government dogs sent to lure us into a trap?" Elias met the man's gaze, his voice steady. "Because we're not fighting for power or control. We're fighting to survive. If we don't unite now, there won't be anyone left to fight for." The leader stared at him for a long moment before nodding slowly. "All right, I'll hear you out, but you'd better have a damn good plan." End of episode 2. If you're enjoying the series, don't forget to drop a like and leave a comment with your thoughts or predictions. We'd love to hear what you think about the story so far. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're the first to know when the next episode drops. There's a lot more action and surprises to come, so stay tuned and we'll see you in episode 3.